Welcome to Basic Brewing Radio for Thursday, November 27th, 2008, Thanksgiving. I'm James Spencer. Here at Basic Brewing Radio, we're all about home brewing. With this week in celebration of Thanksgiving here in the United States, we invite you to join Andy Sparks and me for a beer dinner with the Brett Pack. Andy and I attended this special beer dinner when we were in Colorado for the Great American Beer Festival, and I thought it'd be appropriate to send it out to you today. If you're new to home brewing and would like to get into the hobby for the first time, check out our website, basicbrewing.com, where you can find archives of our audio and video podcasts and our DVDs to walk you through basic and more advanced brewing techniques. And you can follow me on Twitter, my username, Basic Brewing. All one word. The 2009 Brewers Logbooks and the Introduction to Wine Kits DVDs are both here, as I've been telling you. Check out our online store at basicbrewingshop.com to find them. And don't forget to check out our new video podcast. That's out there on iTunes now, Basic Winemaking Video. It's all about making wine. And if you do your Christmas shopping on Amazon.com, please don't forget to think of us when you do that. Just click on the Amazon associate link on basicbrewing.com. Before you do your shopping, and they will track everything you buy there and send us a little hunk of that without you having to pay any more. So it's a win-win, or it's at least a win. Enough plugging, enough of that stuff. We start out with good news from Utah this week. Douglas Wierzinski writes in with an update on the progress of the bill that would legalize home brewing in that state. Douglas says the home brewing bill passed with only one dissenting vote from the Business and Labor Interim Committee. It will go straight to the House floor for a vote at the beginning of the legislative session, which picks up at the end of January. Hopefully then on to the Senate in short order, and maybe even legal brewing by early February. That's great. Amazing news. In the meantime, I will be wearing my official Utah Homebrewing Lobbyist T-shirt that Jamie at the Beer Nut sent me to get you guys, some positive vibes going that way. So please keep us updated. And if it does pass, I think that warrants a trip out there to brew some legal beer in Utah. We do a lot of talking on this program about states where home brewing is illegal, but even in the states where it's not against the law to brew your own beer, there are laws that make it tricky or cumbersome. For instance, I got an email from Mark Emily, who's the executive chair of the Washington Homebrewers Association up in Washington State, and he wrote in with this. He says, in Washington, while homebrewing is totally legal, there are serious limitations on transportation of home brewing. Essentially, you can share it and enjoy it in your own house, but you can't take it out of your house unless it's for a competition or a very limited number of poorly described events. Mark says at those events, the only people able to taste it are the quote-unquote judges and the reason who submitted it. Furthermore, only 1 gallon can be transported. Moving a corny keg would be illegal. And to wrap things up, technically speaking, all unused beer has to be returned to the homebrewer's home. Simply put, the law isn't practical and is unnecessarily restrictive. So, the Washington Homebrewers Association is introducing legislation to relax the transportation laws. We would essentially allow people to take homemade beer and wine out of their house, provided that they aren't selling it, says Mark, and aren't providing it to minors. Double duh, again says Mark. He says we would also allow gifting of homebrew to individuals or organizations. If this gets passed, it will pretty much make all homebrewing club meetings legal and allow for much better communal celebration of our hobbies. Well, good deal, Mark. I appreciate your sending that in. And if you want to learn more about the efforts in Washington State to reform homebrewing laws, go to wahomebrewers.org. That's W-A, homebrewers.org. That's the Washington Homebrewers Association website. Good luck, guys, on that, and thanks again for sending that in, Mark. And one more email before we get into the beer dinner. Joe from Conover, North Carolina, has some advice for Brian, who had the carboy with an imperfection in it that was harboring mold. Joe says on the show about the dirty carboy and what to do with it, let me make a suggestion. I have a large carboy that I have turned into a terrarium. It's a real challenge working through the small hole. I've made some tools for the process using skewers by attaching baby spoons, baby forks, cork for tamping, etc. Put charcoal and gravel on the bottom, add dirt through a tube like a paper towel to get paper towel center to keep from getting the sides dirty. Add plants, add some water by letting it run down the sides to clean them. Add a stopper and you're done. Well, there you go. That would be a handy use for that. I believe I have heard from Brian that he's actually sold his faulty carboy to a relative for use as a change jug, but maybe in a later life that carboy has a life as a terrarium, though, in the future. I appreciate that, Joe. Now, I've been saving the audio for this episode for a while, just for this occasion, for Thanksgiving week. If you're dreading sitting through a tense family Thanksgiving dinner, just put in your earbuds and have dinner with us instead. The week we were in Colorado for the Great American Beer Festival, Andy Sparks and I attended a beer dinner at the Kitchen Restaurant in Boulder. But this wasn't just any beer dinner. It featured the Brett Pack. Now, if you don't know who the Brett Pack are, Brett stands for Brettanomyces, and this is a group of cutting-edge brewers, including Adam Avery from Avery Brewing, Vinnie Cilurzo from Russian River, Rob Todd from Allagash, Tomme Arthur from Lost Abbey, and Sam Calagione from Dogfish Head. Now, what you'll be hearing is a highly edited version of the evening. For time purposes and for other reasons. There are some tales from the group's trip to Belgium and subsequent brewing sessions that you'll just have to go to one of these dinners to hear. But I hope that we captured a bit of the experience, and maybe it'll inspire you when you're around your own mash tun and brew kettle. Now, close your eyes, and we'll take you back now to the kitchen in Boulder. Okay, Andy, here we are at the kitchen in Boulder, Colorado, and we have just been served Russian River Supplication, Lost Abbey Devotion.
Two amazing beers. You know, you can't even get these beers here in Colorado. I really can't even believe that I'm sitting here with the rock stars of brewing over our shoulder, and they're going to serve us 5 courses along with the beers that they brought, personal stash beers that they brought here with them. I'm just giddy. I just can't even describe it.
And they've served us some food, small portions. Looks like what's your guess?
Well, I can smell the truffle, so I'm not sure where the truffles are on the plate. But I asked the waiter, and he said it was frogua. So there's frogua here. I think that's that piece there, and then I'm not sure what this is. We'll take a picture of it and post it.
This is amazing. I don't know. I have no idea what's going to go on this evening, but this is going to be exciting. As a personal note, we've also run into listeners here this evening, Nathan and Peter from California. Especially exciting that Nathan is a Pro-Am brewer in the GABF. So we've also run into other listeners at Odell's and at Avery. So this is just an amazing experience. It's wonderful to leave the house.
Just another reason you need to come to next year's GABF.
And you can hear Andy's iPhone twittering in the background. So stay tuned. Okay, resourceful journalists that we are, we found the piece of paper on the table that tells us what we're eating. For the first course, we have the foie gras terrine, roasted elephant heart, plums, and toast.
Mm-hmm. Pretty good. I've never had foie gras before. I know what it is. It's intensely rich, delicious, really. Hard to explain. Almost like eating fried butter. Doesn't taste like that, but it's that kind of richness.
And then the pan-seared foie gras with powdered honey and herb salad.
Yeah, it had like little watercress or something on top, some little green herbs, and they were kind of bitter, but that balanced the little richness of the foie gras.
Oh, and what beer did you choose to pair with each of those?
Well, I started with the Lost Abbey. It's a little less sour, and it's a little crisper compared to the supplication, which I've tried before, so I kind of know what that's going to be like. Then I finished up with that because it kind of matches up with the sweetness of the last bit we had, the cherry.
Oh! There's a little bit of a thing. There's Adam Avery talking.
Well, it's great to have my really good friends here into town. Having them in the hotel means a lot to me. Some of my best friends in the industry are here tonight, and we're going to have a lot of fun. So I'm going to let them talk about the first two beers. But first, you're going to wonder how good of friends they are after they talk about me. My judgment may not be that wise. They're going to throw me under the bus. They're natural-born liars. They mean nothing of what they say. The first beer is, who's my first beer? Vinnie Cilurzo from Russian River out of Santa Rosa, California. He's going to talk about his beer, Supplication.
Thanks for coming out tonight. Appreciate it. I'm Vinnie Cilurzo from Russian River Brewery in Northern California. I didn't make it to this last year. I heard I got thrown under the bus, and then Sam backed the bus up and forward and back and forward and back. And what are friends for? I'll give a brief synopsis before I get into my beer of how the five of us came about doing these events together. We've done a few of these. Sam was writing his second book, and he invited us all to Belgium. And so the five of us went to Belgium along with a photographer, a friend of Sam's, Kevin Fleming, and we were all supposed to keep a log. And most of us did, except Adam. He just plagiarized Tomme, because Tomme's probably the best writer of the bunch, even though Sam's written 3 books. But it was a really cool trip, and along the way, we became pretty close friends, and have done a lot of these events together where we're pairing a lot of our beers, and we even came home and made a beer, which we'll be pouring later tonight, which we did at Tomme's Brewery, which Tomme can talk about. But that's sort of the basis, the foundation for this going on. The Russian River beer that you have right now is Supplication, and this is the second barrel-aged beer that we made at our brewery. We now do half dozen or more, but this is one of our mainstays. Supplication is a brown ale that we age, or brownish red ale that we age in all Pinot Noir barrels that come from all local Sonoma County wineries. So I'm in a very, very great position in that I've got, I think, like 500 plus wineries within a 50-mile less radius to our brewery. So getting wine barrels is very, very easy. And these are all Pinot barrels, mostly from a really, really small producer called Copan, which are dear friends of mine that I don't think their wines even make it to this area, but they're a tiny producer that most of their fruit comes from the Russian River Valley, hence our name too, and a little bit from the north and a little bit from the south. So the idea behind all of our barrel beers is that we are trying to incorporate the flavors that were in the barrel before. So the Temptation that we're pouring later on is all Chardonnay barrel aged. This is all Pinot barrel. Often when you drink Pinot Noir, you get a little bit of a cherry flavor. So we've added 25 or 30 pounds of cherries to each wine barrel. We add a lot of wild yeast and bacteria, Brettanomyces being the wild yeast, Pediococcus and Lactobacillus, which are both bacteria. So that's where the acidity and sourness is coming from. And this particular vintage, I think, aged for, 15 months, it says on the label. So they're pretty extensive in the aging time. It's much like making wine. And I come from a winemaking background, and so there's sort of some irony there that I left winemaking to homebrew and eventually brew professionally because I like the turnaround time on beer. And now it's come full circle and I'm making beer that takes a couple years to make, and sometimes a little longer. So we're trying to make, in fact, we did make a new one that we're pouring at GABF called Consecration that's only in the barrels for 6 months. So I'm looking forward to pouring that if any of you are going to the festival. So, Tomme?
as Vinnie said, we are all really, really good friends. Somehow we all managed to get together and become friends in the brewing process. We are not adversaries. We're really about having a good time. None of us can really explain why. It's become just a great thing for us. We talk to each other on a regular basis. We buy Sam's cast-off equipment. And when Rob gets big enough, we'll buy his, too. There's some really cool synergy going on with what it is we do. So, my name's Tomme. I'm with Port Brewing Company. We have a line of beers called the Lost Abbey. All the beers that you'll be tasting from us this evening come under the Lost Abbey brand. I was the steward of the project when we came back from the book trip, and I was the one that got us to come together. Not that I did it. We all came together because it's really egotistical. We all came together at our brewery because we were the smallest and we had the most space to do the barrel project. So we released a beer called Isabel Proximus. We'll talk about that as the night goes on. It was a collaborative beer of epic proportions. Anytime you can get our 5 egos in one room to agree upon one type of beer and one project and brewery and things like that, it all works out. This evening you're drinking Devotion. Devotion just came to the market. We launched Colorado 1 month ago. This is Terry and Nick from Elite Brands. They are our distributor here in Colorado. So this beer that you're tasting is officially available in Colorado, which we're very happy to say. Not available on draft yet, but that'll change as things go. This bottle of beer is available in the market, so it's great. Devotion is one of our 5 standard beers. It's a Belgian-inspired blonde ale that has been dry hopped. So it's about a 6.5% alcohol beer with a little bit of hop kick to it, very dry, very herbal, a little bit of hop flavor, and not a lot of malt, so not a lot to get in the way in terms of the perspective. There's the yeast flavor and the hop flavor and a whole bunch of just great beer. So that being said, Devotion works really well with the foie gras tonight, and I think that the intention, at least seemingly, was that the terrine, which the plum was supposed to go with the supplication, the fruit matched there, the Devotion going with the pan-seared, and the greens. I think it worked out very well. So I'm going to shut up, sit down, drink some more beer, and throw Sam under the bus. Thank
you. Okay, Andy, we've recovered from the first course, and luckily these are fairly small pours because we've discovered that there are 2 beers per course in this 5-course dinner.
Yeah, that's true, and they seem to be pouring rather aggressively.
Now, I just said there were small pours. You seem to have curried favor with the wait staff.
I'm a friendly guy. What can I say?
So, this is wonderful. This is a nice, friendly atmosphere. We've actually got a rinse bucket on the table so that between courses we can rinse with water, and we can get ready for the next course. And the next course is Avery Bad Sally in Allagash White.
I wonder what makes Sally bad. I'm looking forward to meeting Bad Sally.
Yeah. Well, I have a feeling that we'll hear from Adam what makes Sally so bad.
I think you're right. That should be good.
Okay, we've just been served the second course, which is coriander crusted scallop with carrot risotto and pomegranate. And the beers that we have been given are Allagash White and Avery Bad Sally.
Yeah, I haven't tried the Bad Sally, but I've had the Allagash White so far, and it is absolutely delicious. If you're a fan of white beers, seek this one out.
Well, I have to seek it out because I haven't been given it yet, but I have a feeling I will. But I'm happy with the Bad Sally so far.
I think it's time for you to start being nicer to the waitstaff, James.
What do you do? Are you tipping? What's up with that?
Just a smile and a compliment every now and then.
I'm a nice guy. What's up?
Okay, we got the
there's more food coming, but they got food. They're through with the beer. They're on with the food.
So they're bringing out our next course. Did you tell them what it is?
Yes, I did. I read the
pomegranate seeds.
Yes,
it looks beautiful.
Yes, and but if I don't get the white, I'll be disappointed. But I'll be happy with the Bad Sally because the Bad Sally. What makes the Sally bad is here comes more white. It's more water. Anyway, I'll figure it out. We'll get it figured out. Here's Rob Todd.
So the beer you're drinking right now is the Allagash White. It's our flagship.
This is the first beer we brewed at the brewery. When I started, I just started alone. We were extremely small. Our first year's production was about 120 barrels. And we just brewed for production in the town we were located, which is Portland, Maine. Draft only. Nice. So we just sold the beer draft only to about 8 accounts. And we've grown a lot since then. The first 8 years, as you guys probably know, no one really was drinking the Belgian-style beers, so we couldn't give this stuff away. But luckily, the category's grown a lot since then, so we've grown a lot as well, which has been nice. But this is a traditional Belgian-style wheat beer, spiced with coriander and curacao orange peel. And, of course, like a bunch of the beers we're drinking tonight, it's unfiltered. It's actually lightly filtered, but we leave a lot of yeast and protein in it. Gives it that nice, kind of elegant, cloudy look. And then a couple beers later, the Interlude comes out. That was a beer that was really like a lot of our beers we've come out with lately was a mistake. The Interlude. That was a beer that was loosely based on a Saison-style beer. Basically, the fermentation stopped, and we did everything we could to get the fermentation going on this batch of Saison, and finally just gave up. And back then, we really didn't need the tank space, and we let the beer just sit in the tank, and I came in about 3 weeks later and looked at the bucket, which is the fermentation lock, and it was bubbling again, and the beer was going. I was like, oh, well, cool, it started going again. And we tasted it, and we could definitely tell that whatever was fermenting the beer wasn't the yeast that we had had. Something else had made its way into there. But we loved the flavor of the beer, and it turned out it was a Brettanomyces strain that somehow made its way into the tank. And since then, we've isolated that culture, and a couple of yeast labs keep the culture for us. We've made that beer since, but we just fell in love with the flavor and let that fermentation continue, and then we aged it in French oak for about 8 months. So that's the next beer that comes out. But thanks a lot for coming out. Appreciate it.
So the Bad Sally that you're drinking in front of you was born on, basically the idea was born in Belgium on our trip that we took a couple of years ago. We went to a brewery there, Fontaine, which is a goose producer, and Armand, who's the brewer there, is a great man and makes great ice cream, by the way. If you ever make it over there, you should get his brew pub. But we spent a lot of time drinking with him and drinking his gooses, and I drank a goose there. It was the best beer I've ever had. He made a wedding beer for a couple who run a pub in Belgium, and so he made a blue and a rose goose for them, and the blue is like probably, I think that everybody agreed during the trip that it was the best beer that we had on the trip, if not in our life. Just a beautiful goose. So I brought a couple bottles back with me, basically in the hopes to steal this yeast strain from Armand, and we successfully brewed it up at the brewery. We took out all the bugs and the pedio and the lacto, and we found the yeast, and so there's a fresh Brett strain. We actually used that Brett strain in our 15, which is our anniversary beer this year as well. But we used, basically we took Salvation, which is our Belgian golden ale. We fermented it as normal, and then we wrapped into some barrels into Cliff, a local vineyard here, into their Cab Sauv barrels. And we added this Brett strain, left it in for about 6 months, and then brought it out, carved it up, and this is what you get. Very, very dissimilar from Salvation. There's definitely some sourness to it, and some weirdness as well. So hopefully you're enjoying it. Cheers.
The fun part of this is listening to Rob Todd talking about an accident that happened in his commercial brewery, that they took lemons and turned it into lemonade, basically.
Right. And I think to some extent all brewing has kind of evolved from that point. Accidental things, but we talked about this earlier today. The La Folie was basically produced the same way. It was a sour keg of fat tire that they said, hey, it's sour, yes, but it doesn't taste bad. It doesn't taste funky, spoiled. let's cultivate this. Let's make more of this. So it's cool how this works. The whole brewing science kind of evolves this way.
Yeah. So if you're a home brewer and you screw up, as long as it's not too bad, you may be able to salvage it and make it something wonderful.
Right. I mean, how many times have you gotten an email or talked to a home brewer and they ask you, is my batch ruined? And I think you and I, our first response is, what's it taste like? Because if it tastes good, then it's not ruined. If it tastes bad, then it is ruined. And if it tastes bad, maybe if you put it in a keg not carboy for a couple months or bottle it, it'll help it smooth out. But that's the main deal. Just because you make a mistake doesn't mean it's going to be bad.
And you know what's the wackiest thing? We got 3 more courses.
It's good. And everything I've had so far has been just absolutely delicious.
Amazing. Okay, the third course is Colorado rabbit wrapped in prosciutto with squash ravioli and a bean
ragu
with a Russian River Temptation and dogfish head sati. That was just plain good.
It was absolutely delicious. I don't know where you live. If you don't get rabbit on the menu very often, you might wince when you see it. But this was absolutely delicious. Just a tender chunk of rabbit tenderloin wrapped in prosciutto. Oh, it was just stunning.
We're getting more. All right, here we go.
Thank you, guys. I realize it's going to be more challenging as we get through the night to capture your attention as we get up to speak. So I do appreciate it. I'll try and be relatively brief, but that's fine. But I'll try. I've gotten to go around and say hello and thank you to a lot of you. I want to start by just saying thank you to Ray and the whole kitchen crew here. This is You guys are like the jury tonight, and you're here to represent that the Reinheitsgebot is nothing more than a relatively modern form of art censorship. As you went through these years, barrel aged, crazy yeast strains, lots of different ingredients. I'm sure, like me, you've found some amazing pairings with the food that you've had tonight. And I know I'm preaching the converted. The fact that you guys would come to a dinner like this, I know that you guys are the ones out there helping us at this table and at this table where we have a number of brewers spread the word. So really, it's just an opportunity to say thank you. And I know you're going to get your money's worth even before the point of the night where Adam, the stripper pole, comes down. Going back to that Reinheitsgebot thing, it's true. That law, that so-called law that said beer is only beer if it's made with water, yeast, hops, and barley, is 500 years old. If you look at brewing history in Belgium, if you look at brewing history that predated the modern countries that are in Europe, as far as we do a beer called Midas Touch, 2,700-year-old recipe. We do a beer called Jiahu, 9,000-year-old recipe. This is what was happening right when man moved from hunting, gathering, animals to civilized people that waited for crops to grow. Those crops were barley, rice, they were a grain. And this is the reason why we're here. So this one here is a 9th century Finnish beer that we kind of played around with the sati. Sati traditionally is rye and barley and juniper. And this recipe predates breweries having metal brewing equipment. So how they would heat a beer like this to brew it back in the 9th century is they would literally throw river rocks over a wooden fire, and they would let those rocks get white hot, and then they would put some paddles around those rocks and drop them into a wooden cauldron filled with the other ingredients, and let that boil, and then transfer over to boil it. So we tried to remain truthful to that, and we put the rocks in our mash tuns, and you get a little subtle smokiness from that. You get a lot of
clovey, phenolic character from Vice in the East. And then I hope you taste a lot of the spices that we put in this: the juniper, lemongrass, cumin, coriander, and a bunch of other ones. At any rate, this is the first time we've ever served this outside of our brew pub, so we chose to go some thousands of miles.
We're pouring Temptation now. This is our first sour beer we ever made. It's a blonde ale aged in all Chardonnay barrels. There's no fruit added. We finish it with Brettanomyces in the bottle, so it's got a big Brett character. There's, of course, the Chardonnay comes through. As I said earlier, the whole idea behind our barrel program is to match light barrels with a certain type of beer. And with this one, we wanted a really simple beer with the Chardonnay to come through, the Brettanomyces. We carbonate it quite heavily, so it's just on the verge of over-carbonated, but that almost champagne-like carbonation is almost it's a signature now of the beer. And still to this day, I think it's my favorite sour beer, barrel beer we do. Although this new one we're pouring at the GABF tomorrow, my wife Natalie tells me the Consecration's her new favorite beer, and all Cabernet Sauvignon barrels. So.
Now, we ran into a few listeners at the dinner. One was Peter from Better Beer Blog.
Yes.
Peter.
My name's Peter from Better Beer Blog, and this is a phenomenal dinner so far. I was wondering who I had to kill to get another scallop around here. That was good. That was a really good scallop.
Yeah, the food is good. It's really small. We may have to meet at Denny's after this, but, you know.
Yeah, it's the thing about the French, I guess. I don't know. They like their small portions. Sure, it looks pretty, but, I mean, for an American palate, it's just not cutting it.
But, you know, we still have 2 courses to go yet.
Yeah.
But I guess it makes up for it, because instead of going for one beer with one plate, we get 2 beers for every plate. So I guess it makes up for it.
Yeah, so far I'm not complaining.
Oh, no complaints whatsoever. The only complaint I have maybe is that I drank a little too early in the day. And, I should have saved myself for this event.
Well, chugging the rinse bottles, full of water, may be a good survival strategy at this point.
I think I might have put away like 3 of those already. I mean, I came in utterly dehydrated and felt like a raisin walking in here. And now I'm just starting to get back to normal.
But this is kind of a historic event. I mean, they call themselves the Brett Pack. But when you think about the Rat Pack, back with Sinatra and Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. and Joey Bishop, and this is really a historical parallel to that.
Yeah, it's what's really amazing. What really, how to put it, amazes me the most about this dinner is really the camaraderie amongst the brewers. I mean, there's a real sort of familiarity and comfort level with these guys that you don't normally find with professional brewers, especially since they're geographically so far away from each other. But because they're just so, they're busting each other's nuts, and it's really a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun. It's very personal. It's a great sort of addition to the whole event.
Yeah. Amazing so far.
Yeah, every time we go and get around brewers, it's like this. All brewers want to help other brewers. If you want to start a brewery and you go talk to one of these guys, they will sit there and talk to you for hours about that. I mean, they're all about sharing the love of beer and getting more people into the business, getting more people loving beer and spreading the love.
I have a feeling this is going to be the longest Basic Brewing Radio podcast ever.
I'm glad I'm finally a part of one. In my the last time I went down to San Diego, I actually, put on a couple of a Basic Brewing podcast just to kind of kill the time on I-5, because it's a very long and flat drive, and I need something interesting to listen to. So I'm glad I can finally be a part of that interestingness, I hope.
You are a part of home brewing history, Peter.
Oh, that's good. I feel good about that. As a home brewer, I'm finally contributing back to the field that gave so much to me.
On to the next course.
Good.
Okay, Andy, that was the wood-roasted venison chops with celeriac puree and Brussels sprouts.
Absolutely delicious.
That's probably the least gamey venison that I've ever had, which makes me wonder if it was farm-raised or not.
I kind of assume it was because they had enough to serve everybody here. The other thing is they served it extremely rare, so you'd want to feel pretty comfortable about how they raised it and all that stuff.
Yeah, which makes me feel like I could tackle a deer and just eat it right there.
I couldn't.
As Andy stuffs down
another bite of deer.
Have we said that we are also drinking the Lost Abbey Isabel Proximus and Allagash Interlude? And here we go with more words from the brewers. Stay tuned.
All right, so the beer we're drinking now, okay, because I've had it before, but this Allagash Interlude. Like I said, this beer we kind of stumbled into. It was loosely based on a Saison-style beer. We had what we think was a Brettanomyces yeast work its way into this tank somehow. But the Brettanomyces yeast is a very slow fermenter. The beer ferments out in half the fermentation goes in about 3 days. Half the fermentation goes in about 3 days with the traditional ale yeast, with a Saison ale yeast, and then what we do is we'll add this Brettanomyces yeast, which we isolated from the first batch of Interlude that we ever brewed, and we'll add it to the beer, and that actually takes about 3 to 4 months to ferment out. It ferments out super dry, and then we'll age about a third of the beer in French oak, Merlot, and Syrah barrels for 8 to 10 months. And then we'll blend the third that was aged in the French oak, Merlot, and Syrah barrels with the rest of it that's aged in stainless steel, and then we'll bottle it. So it's real dry for beer, but it's got a nice sweetness that balances it out, and a lot of fruitiness that balances it out. It's about 10%, 9 or 10% by volume. Almost drinks, like a lot of Belgian beers, it really almost drinks a lot like a wine as much as it drinks like a beer. Nice. Cheers. All right.
The chef has made an appearance.
Well, we started out with which was part of a foie gras terrine with a little brioche toast. Nice and really smooth. We were drinking those beers with that first pairing. We really thought that something fatty kind of to cut through it a little bit would go nice. And since we felt like going big, we thought, about as fatty, tasty thing as you can get is foie gras. So landed there pretty easily. The scallops just we're starting to get into that season. When we were tasting the beers with that, we really tasted a lot of coriander. Thought that it would go really well with that pairing. The rabbit's Colorado rabbit. Sort of one of my favorite things to do starting this time of the year and on into the winter. So instead of sort of bringing it in lightly, we just thought we'd go at it with a bang for this dinner and try it out. We also were thinking with those beers, nice little saltiness in there. That's why we decided rabbit and prosciutto and whatnot. And then again with the kind of season where we're really sort of us chefs get a little itchy to do things. Right when the season starts, so you got stewed beans and stuff like that. Plus, goes right good with beer, like a lot of things. And then it brings us to this course where we're just thinking, doing something nice, doing something different. We don't do a lot of the time. The venison chops, they're roasted in the wood oven, so you just kind of get really all kinds of complex flavors. Basically, especially these beers at the inns here were some of my favorite, and they just. You got so much going on already that we just thought that, why not make it even more crazy? So you got all the complexity of the game in there, and desserts yet to come, so that should be pretty tasty too.
My friend Rob Todd here makes awesome beer, and when we were in Belgium, Rob sent over Interlude And the refrain on many of the nights that we were out drinking was, I was screwed by the lid. So it's a privilege to have been screwed by the lid again. I love Interlude. I think it's a great beer, so it's awesome. We're celebrating Isabel Proximus tonight. We're celebrating the fact that the five of us could get together, go on a trip to Belgium, not kill each other, come back and brew a batch of beer. This is why we went to Belgium. We went to Belgium to celebrate sour beer. We came back from Belgium, brewed a batch of sour beer. This is it. This is what happened when the five of us went over to Belgium. We toured sour-producing breweries from the Dole to Cantillon to Bone. It was an amazing experience. Grey Fontaine, which Adam violated a lot of Grey Fontaine, but that's okay. This is a small batch of beer. We made about 400 cases in November of 2006. All four of them came to our brewery in San Diego, and we brewed one batch of beer. We got together in November of 2006. We brewed a base beer. Everybody that went on the project on the trip with us sent oak barrels, sent their wild yeast. We made one batch of beer, put it in oak barrels, everybody's house yeast that contributed the flavors. We blended this in March of 2008. It went on sale of April. The beer is sold out. We have some beer held back in reserve so that we can do tastings and things like this.
But there was one barrel that was kind of rank, right?
Extra special.
Extra special.
Yes.
Did that one get included in smaller volumes or not included?
We had 18 oak barrels that we produced. One of them did not get included.
Can we bottle that separately?
Only if you can get it back from the city of San Diego.
Down the drain.
Down the drain. Part of the process. So cheers. Thank you guys for coming. I'm going to enjoy your dessert.
The best graham cracker ever. The fifth course is a Mission Fig Tartlet, Dulce de Leche, and mascarpone ice cream. No, ice cream? Oh, there's a little bit of ice cream. With Dogfish Head, 120-minute, and Mephistopheles.
Wow, this is absolutely delicious. My preference is for the 120-minute. It's like a delicious big barley wine, super malty and rich and sweet. Goes great with the dessert. Mephistopheles is an absolutely gigantic imperial stout. Has alcohol in the nose and alcohol in the mouth. It's I've enjoyed it on tap, and it's very smooth like that. It's a little bit much right out of the bottle, I think, but still enjoyable, but in small amounts.
This is our last beer of the night. This is Mephistopheles Stout. If the Belgians made a super big imperial stout, this is what it would taste like. This is a beer that we made with a ton of roasted and black malts. We've used a very cool Belgian yeast strain that produces a really cool estery, a little bit of phenolic flavor. So for me, when I smell it, you can take a big, swirl it in your glasses. They're great glasses to smell in and appreciate the beer. Big, ripe fruits. I get cherry kind of flavors in this. Lots of different flavors through the mid palate, and it finishes with kind of a espresso kind of finish. And it's anything chocolate. I mean, with this beer is like a perfect combination. It's been by the way, it's been a great night. Guys, thanks for coming out. I mean, these guys made a big effort to make it happen. Just to know, some of these guys are going to be judging tomorrow at GABF, so I mean, this is a big deal for them to come out and to be here. So it's really cool that they took the time to be with us. And like I said, some of my best friends in the industry, even though they actually hate me.
So I want to bring this close up. I was supposed to come up and talk about our beer from Dogfish Head, but I really do love this stout. And in the case of chocolate, try everything on your plate other than the chocolate with the 120, and then have the chocolate with Adam's stout. It goes very well. And this actually, 120 was a beer that we said we wanted to brew the world's strongest IPA. And it kind of fit into the timeline of our brewery that coincided with us talking smack with each other about who brews the best IPAs, East Coast or West Coast.
and we had a great time. I want to go out with just a little bit more of love, and not just for these guys, because we've lived this at this table. We've lived this for a number of years, but the fact that we could do this tonight, we were joking earlier about how casual it is, and that you guys are still willing to spend this money to do this. And I hope that you guys felt that you got your money's worth tonight, because I look at these bottles on this table, and I know what some of these go for. But 120-minute IPA very quickly. I think this batch is about 17.8%. Alcohol. I'm pretty sure it's the strongest IPA in the world, but I'm not sure if I can confirm that. We're real proud of that, but instead of going out talking about that, I want to thank the kitchen for doing this. Enjoy your beers. Cheers, guys. Thank you.
After the dinner, I had a chance to sit down with Ray Decker, general manager of the kitchen. Give me a little background on this event.
This event started last year, the night before the Great American Beer Festival. I approached Adam Avery probably about that July prior and just said, hey, looking to do another. We had done a beer dinner with Avery prior and said, I'd love to do another beer dinner, and just had an idea. It's GABF. I know that there's going to be a lot of brewers in town. Would you like to maybe collaborate and do a beer dinner with a couple, other breweries? And he was completely fired up about it and said, yeah, let's do it. And within a day or 2 days, there was an email dialogue with the guys that we're associated with tonight, and that's how it got started.
If you are talking to restaurant managers around the country who are looking to do beer pairing dinners, what advice can you give them? They may be used to thinking of doing wine pairing dinners. What can you tell them to kind of give them some advice on how to put together an event like this?
That's a good question. I would probably look to do something eclectic to let people see something, prepared a way that they're not necessarily used to, or a dish that they're not necessarily used to seeing, paired with a beer, that they're not entirely familiar with, to let people see the broadness and the spectrum of beer and food and what they both can do, and to explore and to not be confined to red wine goes with white fish kind of mentality. Like, this is beer, this is food, let's experiment and let's explore. Going into making this menu, I sat down with Kyle and another chef, Dennis, and the three of us sat there and we tasted these beers, and they were exactly what you just described as very unique beers that you don't necessarily taste every day, and they're like extremely complex. And we said we need to come up with a food menu that will match these beers in uniqueness and eclecticness, and make people say, wow, this is such a different style of food, to match, wow, this is such a different style of beer. And that was our motivation with making this menu, is just trying to be as creative on the food side as these guys are with their beers.
So in a way it's a challenge, but also in a way it should be energizing for someone who's as creative in a culinary way as these brewers are, to create a menu that goes along with these.
Definitely. Kyle and Dennis. Dennis, who was actually cooking downstairs tonight, is a home brewer and makes some phenomenal beers. And having him sit through tasting these beers and having his input along with Kyle's was a tremendous value to just some of the things that he was describing in these beers, and like, wow, I'm getting this, and I could definitely see it going with this. So there was a lot of back and forth, and it was a great experience.
Well, Ray, this has been amazing, and I thank you for this event, and I hope that the listeners get even a fraction of what we got out of this event. It was just amazing.
Well, thank you very much, and it was such an amazing event to be a part of, and so thank you very much.
Well, thanks again to Ray and all the brewers and all the chefs and staff at the kitchen. That was quite a memorable evening. And if you have a chance to attend a beer dinner of that caliber, don't pass it up. In the meantime, I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. Enjoy your holiday and the time with family and loved ones. And remember, after you get done eating, that we've got the Brewer's Logbook and our Basic Winemaking Introduction to Wine Kits DVD out there on our online store. But if you have brewing questions, show suggestions, or just want to say howdy, write to james@basicbrewing.com. Or just fill out the contact form on basicbrewing.com, and please don't forget to tell us where you're from. You can check out our other DVDs, Low-Tech Lagering and Decoction Mashing, and Introduction to Extract Home Brewing, and Stepping into All Grain. All those are available out there on the website, along with combo deals. You can also see a listing of the fine folks across the country who sell our DVDs on basicbrewing.com. And if there isn't a vendor in your area, you can order it from us online at basicbrewingshop.com. We got shirts, so be sure to check those out as well. And thanks to everybody who's continued to click on our Amazon.com link for your holiday shopping. We appreciate your support there. Our featured products this week that were purchased through the link are Rival FD350S Stainless Steel Electric Fondue and V-Moda Bass Frequency Earbuds. Bling Bling Black. Thanks again, everybody. Remember, I can't tell who bought what, so no worries there. Just click on the Amazon logo. The next time you feel like Amazon shopping, just click on that Amazon logo on our site, and it will take you to the Amazon site seamlessly, and then you can shop there. Well, that's all until next week. Until then, thanks for listening. I'm James Spencer. Production help for Basic Brewing Radio and our website is provided by our buddy Kelly Donson. Basic Brewing Radio is a production of Active Voicing. We'll talk to you next time, everybody. So long.